Hey guys, Gemma from ASD Rocks. Someone wrote to me saying they thought my name was Gemma From, like as in like F-R-O-M-M-E, Gemma From. And then they only recently realized that that's not my name. I was saying Gemma from ASD Rocks. It's quite funny. Anyway, so no, it's not my name. And I'm doing the ASD Rocks thing. So school holidays are coming up, which I think if Bo were here, he would go da da da. That's his little noise that he makes for anything which is you know, I don't know. It's cute. So all of Bo's reactions have been taken from someone else. It's very interesting that the way that Bo responds to things, I know how he feels, but how he feels has never been outwardly represented. So, for example, he never really knew how to smile. Sure, he felt happy and whatnot, but if you said smile for a camera shot, it was horrific. there was just no shot that you could actually use. He was like, it looked like he was in pain. He couldn't and has never been able to replicate emotion in a way that was visually understandable. So what do I mean by that? And to this day, he's 17, so the dog got into his bin. Our dog has a fetish for used tissues. Please don't ask me why. I have no idea. A dog has a fetish for used tissues, and Bo has this insane anxiety about it. I had to sit him down recently, and you know, I've had to sit him down a few times and just sort of explain and say, dude, it's just not that big a deal. She goes into her bedroom, she knocks over a bin, she has a snuffle around in there. Maybe she finds a tissue, maybe she doesn't. She takes it downstairs, eats it. I don't know what she does with it. I don't know why. She's a hound. So, you know, they smell, their senses are so much stronger than ours. Whatever she's looking for, she's clearly finding. But Bo just cannot cope with it. If he walks into his room and his bin is over, it's just the end of the world. And the other day, he came out of his room and he walked into me and went, the bin is over. For someone who can't replicate their emotions, their own emotions, it's so funny how over dramatic he is, because he takes and has always taken from caricatures or cartoons. So he walked out of the room literally like Yosemite Sam does, you know. And you know, he was about to go downstairs and he did this Yosemite Sam kind of walk, and I had to pull him back and sit down, and I actually showed him some videos of himself as a baby playing with tissues. You guys will have seen this video. The video is him just pulling tissue after tissue after tissue out, and me just saying nothing. I was just like, hey babe, what are you doing? Are you allowed to do that? I mean, he was non-verbal, and quite frankly, he didn't even know I was there at the time of the videoing. Like, he just didn't have that that communication ability. He really was just completely unaware of my existence. But he was very aware of the tissues, and he was just pulling them out, and I showed him this video and I said, now, are you being naughty? Am I yelling at you? are you doing what's right or what's wrong? And, you know, we sort of had this big, massive chat about, why didn't I yell at you? Well, I didn't yell at you because you were playing, you were a baby, you were learning, you weren't doing anything, you know, naughty, you weren't doing something specifically to upset me or hurt me or anything like that. And the dog isn't either. You know, and I then sort of played another video which was really, really interesting, which I'm going to post for you guys, which is Bo and his spoons, which is hysterical because Bo had a sort of obsessive compulsion with teaspoons for about a year or so. We ended up actually putting these teaspoons in a pencil case and used to take them with us everywhere because he just loved getting up on a couch and repetitively pushing these and throw it like these teaspoons off the edge of the couch onto the floor. Now, technically, that would be bad behavior. And I showed Bo this video of him just, you know, constantly pushing these spoons off onto the floor, and then he'd get down and then he'd pick up the spoons and then he'd put them back up on the couch, and then he'd get up on the couch and he'd push them off the couch. Look, I don't know what the satisfying part was. I don't know if it was the sound, the noise, the action. I really genuinely have no idea. But the point is that I had to show Bo, I said, are we yelling at you? Are we angry with you? Did we understand what you were doing or why you were doing it? No, we didn't. He wasn't diagnosed at that stage. It's like, you know, it was before he was 2. He's in nappies and a onesies, like a baby. I'd say he's probably about 13 months, 14 months old at the time. And for Bo, I brought it back and I said to him, you know, we talk about it and we've given other people the knowledge of the unthinkables, because they were very, very useful for us when we were working hands-on with Bo through speech therapy and occupational therapy. And if you haven't seen that video, please go into the playlists, hit videos, go to playlists and look at home therapies, because the unthinkables have been phenomenal. I might repost it for you guys for the newer people that have come on. And one of them was Mr. Glass. So Mr. Glass would just shatter at the smallest thing. He was just incapable of dealing with anything. I would almost equate him, if you guys have seen Inside Out, who was that? There was a character that just used to scream. Maybe he was worry or nerves or something like that. I can't remember what the character was. He was skinny and he was just always running around, and that was the same as Mr. Glass. And so Bo still has these attributes, and the dog pushing the bin over in his room just causes him to shatter. He simply absolutely cannot get past the fact that nothing's happened, blood is not spilt, nothing is broken, there really genuinely isn't really a problem, but something has tipped his world into such chaos that he's incapable of continuing. And I think a lot of that is very autistic. So working through these challenges is a really big deal. It's really important that we as their parents help them to work through how to manage these, you know, how to put them in perspective. And I said to him, you know, if you can't handle that, if you go out into the street and you see a crack in the sidewalk and you can't handle it, what's going to happen if an earthquake happens, right? My concern is if you can't handle the bin being tipped over, what's going to happen when something really serious happens? he takes it on board. I'm not 100% sure he genuinely has the experience, the life experience to understand what, you know, we are all only as exposed to stress and devastation as we have personally experienced. If the worst thing that's ever happened to you is that you've returned a library book late, then that's the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And that, if you were stressed out, is just as bad, because it raises the same amount of cortisol in you as someone who's been arrested for something, because that's their bad experience. Everybody's bad experience to themselves is at an equatable level. It was a difficult thing for me to learn, but it's once you get the understanding that for each individual, devastation is devastation, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. So for Bo, devastation is that the dog has tipped over the bin and maybe one tissue has fallen out, and that's enough to just completely shift his world. Devastation for me, you know, I mean, the end of the world would have to pretty much come to even touch the sides. So we'll see how we go. But his ability to display emotion has been taken from other cartoon characters and other people, where he tries to replicate what it looks like because he can't think of it himself. Even when he's experiencing absolute devastation, to portray how he feels, he heads towards a cartoon character or a caricature, because if you take a look at the way those things are drawn and written, they are the antipode of emotion. A caricature will pull out the largest features, exaggerate the most, the biggest points. So yeah, I just thought you guys would enjoy that, and I'm leaving you to it. If you have any questions, I'm really glad you guys got along so well with Stephen the other day. I know he was on the phone for about 3 hours with someone helping them out. He is such a gem. Thank you again to Stephen for being so incredibly wonderful and helpful, having such a big heart to help people. All right, ASD rocks.